So you can see that you can actually type on it. You can actually watch stuff on it. Some of the features that I wrote down, clinical notes, macro buttons, you can prescribe to any pharmacy, you can schedule a speech to text. We also have an app directory. The iPad Pro actually has something called a smart connector. You guys see the 3 dots on the bottom of my iPad? This is the way you can tell it's an iPad or an iPad Pro. There's a lot of cool other stuff you can do with the iPad. Another one is the check-in app. So we actually can lock it down. Here you can see here it's locked down. It does have horizontal view, vertical view. You can see that there. I listed out a bunch of stuff here so you guys can see like all the features of what you can do with the check-in app. So we do have 3 apps. The billing app is really lightweight. It's almost just a viewer at the moment. There's a lot of work being done on the point of care app, the EHR, and the check-in app. Those 2, I would say, we're aggressively investing time in. The billing app is very, very lightweight right now. So some training for you guys on iPad. It's way better than a laptop in the sense that you can actually get up and walk around with it. There's the connector, the smart connector again for iPad Pro. Here's some examples of the smart connector right there. You can see people just, it's really versatile, right? So you could type on it and flip it around and pull it off. There's no Bluetooth. I'm gonna show you guys some gestures now. So the iPad actually has like this thing called gestures, right? Gestures are ways to make the keyboard, the software keyboard better. Instead of relying on the home button, right? So there's a home button. Apple has the concept of like the 4-finger swipe up to find an app. So if I do a 4-finger swipe up, 4 fingers, I don't know if they can see this. I do 4-finger swipe up. It can actually pull up all the apps that you have that are open, right? So 4-finger swipe up actually will show you all the apps that are open. So it's almost like a keyboard and mouse. Now, 4 fingers, I could just tap on something. But say I actually want to open our EHR, right? Tap on our EHR. There's the EHR, right? Why is the iPad good? Why? You know how many times you have to type in your like password into a laptop to get in? You guys don't because you're using the MacBooks. But a lot of providers actually have to type in their password hundreds of times a day. So this is TouchID right there, right? So TouchID. Now going back to gestures, 4-finger swipe up, right? 4-finger swipe up brings up all the apps. Now I can go between the settings app and I can go between the DrChrono app. If I tap on DrChrono again, it launches it right there. So 4-finger swipe up gets you all of your apps, right? So if you have multiple apps open, 4-finger swipe up, boom. Yeah, you have the home button also, but this is just something that's actually kind of fun. Now, if I want to go back home, right, you can press the home button, but you could also do 5 fingers swipe in a pinch, right? So 4 fingers swipe up. I don't know if you guys can all see this. Then I tap on the app, and then I can start doing work. And if I need to get out of that app, I can 5 fingers pinch in, and it brings me there. I actually recommend everybody for 20 minutes in their day, instead of writing email at their desk, get up, launch your email app on your iPad, and just walk around so you get used to it. So going back in, 4-finger swipe up, tap on the app, launch it, and then 5 fingers can close it. Now, there's some really cool stuff. This one is actually one that blows everyone away. If I go down to something and I tap, right, it brings up the keyboard. You guys know the keyboard, right? You guys some of you guys might know macro buttons. So there's a macro button. I just place some text in here, right? Now you see where it says fill in? Patient is fill in year-old man, right? Do you know this also is a mouse? Now, Apple doesn't have force touch on the iPad. 2 fingers creates the mouse-like motion. So say I want to move over, I press 2 fingers down, and I could move anywhere. Do you guys see that? So it's just 2 fingers, right? So if I go right here, so I'm going to do that right there, right? So you guys can see that I just can do that 2 fingers. It becomes a mouse. Now it actually has the tap also, like a click. If you just do 1 tap, it'll actually select something for you. So say I don't want that, but I do 2 fingers. I go over to fill in, right? I do 1 tap. And now, do you know how to get to the numbers? So say this person is like 53. You can actually drag down, hold and drag down. So I'm going to try to hold and drag down. So say 53. Did you see that? So you can press and hold down. So I'm just going to just do that fast so you guys can kind of see. There you go. So you can see that. So that is another trick on the iPad right there. You can also hold and it'll bring you other stuff. But if you drag down, it shows you that other one. See that? So it sort of flips between the two, which is pretty cool. So now you know you can move with the mouse, right? You got a mouse with 2 fingers. See that? Mouse with 2 fingers. And then you also can use other parts of the keyboard where you drag down, it actually shows you other stuff. 4 fingers, what does that do? Swipe up, brings up all your apps, right? Okay. Now, Apple kind of consistently did that on the Mac. 4 fingers, swipe up, brings you all your apps. You kind of see where Apple is going with this, where they have 4 fingers, swipe up, shows you all your apps on the iPad, shows you all your apps on your Mac. But you guys know now that gestures with your finger, they'll save you time. 4 fingers, swipe up, right? Get you that app. Now, 4 fingers swipe sideways actually brings you another thing where you can actually go between apps. See that? So say I'm working and I just want to go between 2 apps quickly. I can go here. I can go here. I can go here. I can go here. Right? So 4 fingers also shows you 2 other apps, but that's a sideways swipe, right? Now 4 fingers sideways swipe also on the Mac is the same thing. I see the developers doing it a lot where they 4 finger side swipe, right? You guys do that? Now there's something, do you guys know what multitasking is on an iPad? You can demo it. So like if I swipe up, there you go. It brings you your dock. So if I do a fast swipe up, it brings me my dock. See that? Fast swipe up. Now, if I do a fast swipe up, it brings me the dock. Now, say I need to know my schedule versus the DrChrono schedule of patients that I have coming in. Now, with multitasking, if I actually pull an app out, watch this. So if I pull an app out, you guys see that? You can pull an app out. And I could push it away, right? So if I swipe up fast, I can pull an app out. This is multitasking. Push it, I could swipe it out of the way and pull it back in, swipe it out of the way. Here's a drawing app. I'll show you this example. I pull this drawing app out, right? Say it's Zoom. If Zoom supports multitasking, you could do it. If I can go in, I'll just show you. I'm gonna go into this app. I'll pull up Apple Pencil. Apple Pencil only works with the latest iPad and iPad Pro. But here you go. So I could start to write and then swipe it out of the way. Now, a true multitasking app, I'll just show you guys what that is. So I'm going to close this out. I'm going to launch this app. This is that drawing app I just had open. So here's a drawing app, right? True multitasking is I swipe up. I can pull open my calendar, right? Now, do you guys see that bar at the tippy top? There's a little gray bar right about here. I'm just shaking that side, that little gray bar. That little gray bar, if I pull down on that, pull down, see that? And if I pull back down again, so that's what multitasking is this gesture, and then you can work side by side, right? So say I have a really good, if I swipe up, right? Say I have like a really good like browser thing that I want to look at or something to show the patients. You can have DrChrono on this side, or the patient check-in app on this side, and then something else on that side. And then you can do that right there. So this is a really, really powerful thing. So sometimes people complain about the iPad keyboard being too large. I'm going to show you guys. So I'm going to do 4-finger swipe up, right? Then I'm going to select this app, right? Our app. The keyboard is kind of big, right? Kind of a big keyboard. If I was to take my 2 thumbs, right, I could pull it apart. And then I could just start to use it. I could put it back together. So what I'm doing is like taking 2 thumbs, pulling it apart, putting it back together. Pull it apart. So you could, I prefer the larger keyboard. I just prefer it. It's just my preference. So I never use this, but it's something that I think some people can get really used to, and you don't have to like do that long finger stretch there. So it's really just 2 thumbs and you just kind of pull. You pull it apart like that. You know, I think this is kind of powerful, just honestly, I'm going to play this video. It takes 2 seconds. If someone gets an iPad Pro, a regular iPad, or the iPad 12-inch, the really big one, they can just lock it in and put it in at the waiting room. And these things cost like $50, right? Like if you're going to use DrChrono, why not buy a 12-inch iPad and just put it in the waiting room? Takes a few seconds. And our check-in app actually does support both views, horizontal and vertical view. So, you know, get a nice one that can rotate maybe, you know, and they can sign their stuff on here. It's powerful. I just went through multitasking with you guys. Now, Apple Pencil, it's $99. We do free drawing on our app, but with this app, this is called Paper. I would say hands down, this is the best app out there for Apple Pencil and like showing off what Apple Pencil can do. I'm going to take a photo of you guys. Let's see, take a photo. There you go. All right. Okay. So I'm going to hit use photo, and I'll do this with DrChrono also, but just so you guys can see. I'm going to select white, go there. Okay, that one's not so good. So let's try this one. There we go. Right. This one right here. Right. So it becomes really interactive. No, I can't really see that. There you go. Or rabbit ears. But it's really interactive. And what I did in DrChrono is I literally imported this clinical template here. I'll just show you guys this one if I hit start visit. If I go into additional, let me see if I can find it. Here's a free draw one. I can just tap with Apple Pencil. I can go in. I can start to draw. How awesome is this? Like, this is really good stuff. You know, issue area. Sorry about my area, right? And you can just erase it. Look at how cool that is. Like, you can't do that on a laptop. Say I'm walking Robert through something on a knee surgery that we're going to be doing with somebody, right? This is just so powerful. And Apple Pencil, it links directly to the latest iPad Pro. Super, super good. But if I go into this one, you know, this is another great app. This one actually, the interesting thing about Apple Pencil and iPad Pro and iPad, the latest iPad, is it's actually pressure sensitive. So as I press harder, I know you guys can't see this, but I'm pressing. Do you see that? Like I'm actually pressing hard. It's detecting like the angle. It's detecting the pressure. It's doing all of that, which is really crazy. It literally feels like paper. The medical speech to text button. Let's see if it's turned on. Awesome. Patient has laceration of left leg, period. Patient is in pain, level 10, period. That's pretty good, right? You guys just saw that. That's not bad. Okay. Do you guys know where to talk into the iPad? Where's the microphone on the iPad? Think of, okay, just for memory for you guys, if you're doing a demo or if you want to talk into the iPad, think of it near the camera. There's the camera, right? The microphone, the iPad Pro actually has two microphones, one at the top, see that? And one on the back on the top. So if you're doing a demo of medical speech to text, talk here, talk here. So if you may want to hold it in this vertical format and just start talking like this. Or if you're talking horizontally, you may want to just talk like this into the iPad. I never charged this thing. Somehow Apple figured out how to charge it in 30 seconds. So if a doctor wanted to get it, literally they just pop it into their iPad and it charges it and it takes 30 seconds, which is awesome. Now, one of the features that I like on the iPads, particularly, why iPad, why not web? Well, if you're with a patient and the patient lives nearby, you can get a map on Apple Maps of where to send the drug. Patient's name, okay.
And on the top right,
Send DRX, okay. Okay, there we go. There's one. How do I close this one? Kill it? Okay, there we go. I just pressed the X button. Press, is it the search right here? Nice. Whoa. How cool is that? That's pretty cool if you could do that with patients. So say you're like doing remote rounds, you go to their house, pull this up, you kind of know the pharmacies in the area and say, hey, where would you like me to send it? And you can select that right there and send to this pharmacy. I'm not going to click the send to pharmacy. Okay. Okay. I'm going to just say it again. How many times do you log in per day into accounts? Just think about that. And how much time does it save you on your iPhone and on your iPad when you just tap TouchID? It saves you hours, right? It literally saves me like painstaking hours. So just bring that up to people. iPad Pro, we have our app directory. This one I don't think a lot of people know about, but one of our partners is PhysiTrack. There you go. If you go into the name, the customer name, then you select App Directory. On the iPad and on iPhone, we're really trying to be the most open EHR possible. So we are the only EHR that has something called deep linking. There is nobody else out there that has done this. So in our App Directory, you tap that. PhysiTrack is the very first EHR direct deep link app ever in the EHR space. You tap PhysiTrack and it pulls everything up in their app in context. So going back, basically Chrissy Bright is the patient. You tap on her name, you tap App Directory, you tap the app, and it brings it right up to Chrissy Bright in the other app. DrChrono has that through our API today, and we're the only EHR that does that. So for anyone who uses Facebook, not everyone uses Facebook. They have a Facebook app and they have Facebook Messenger. They almost feel like one app. It's the same idea here, where you can tap between our app and another app. Developers, if you're looking at like a larger deal, or if you wanted to pull PhysiTrack in, this is something, we're the only EHR that has ever done this. So down the road, this app store will be built up where we'll have like all these contextual apps that we can actually just sort of tap between them, and data will be pulled in between all the apps. We do have also simple share. So a lot of EHRs lock the data in. A quick way to get data out and to just dump it into another app is we actually have the share section enabled. I selected Box here. One thing to think about, the iPad Pro has 4 speakers, right? So say that there's a medical video that the doctor wants to show off, or there is any video that has sound. The iPad Pro has 4 speakers for people that just are hearing impaired. Maybe they're a provider that's hearing impaired. Maybe it's the patient. Dual mics, like I mentioned, right? The dual mics on the top near the camera. And it's so thin and light. Again, guys, I recommend everybody in the room just stand up when you're doing email. Try to write 2 emails on your iPad. Plus, it's healthy, right? Get up for a minute. It'll just get you acclimated to like using it more and more. So there's a lot of iPads out there. It gets really confusing really fast. I kind of want to dumb it down to 3 iPads. There are 3 iPads. This is what's on Apple's website. I really, really like these 2. The latest iPad is good for patient check-in because it's cheaper. It's only $300 roughly. But the iPad Pro is better for providers because it has the smart connector. Those are my 2 favorites, but some providers may want a bigger check-in app iPad. For the check-in app, the 12.5 is really good, right? You buy a really big iPad for patients who can't quite see. It kind of makes sense. And then you just make the font in settings on the iPad. In settings, you can make the font really big. And then if there's a disabled individual who can't quite see this size iPad, it's even hard for me sometimes. You get the bigger one, you can lock that down in kiosk mode, and then they can enter all that information in. I really like Apple's website. If you guys are confused, I put this link in here. It's super simple, right? So this is all that they sell. So they can pick out whatever color they want. It really, for me, comes down to these 3 iPads. Check-in app, cheap. iPad Pro, recommended. If someone can't quite visually see or is visually impaired, the iPad 12.9 is actually the one to go with. All these specs are not really that important. You know, there's a lot of specs here. You can go past those. Apple Pencil only really, you know, it works with this one. It works with this one. One other thing that iPad is unique with is I actually have it in this iPad and I love it. It's a SIM card. If the internet goes down in a medical practice, why would you not have a SIM card in your iPad? So I recommend them getting an iPad. I'm on AT&T. Okay, great. You probably want an iPad Pro that supports a SIM card. The iPads that Apple ships out support SIM cards from any cell provider. So it really doesn't matter. Hey, your practice is running and depending on this. Let's get you an iPad Pro. You probably want to get the latest and greatest iPad Pro for yourself. I think there's like just 3 iPads. It's the iPad Pro. You can see them all here listed, but there's really just 3 iPads that I think are good. I think the big one is really good for visually impaired people. I think the iPad Pro, either one is good for the provider. You get the smart connector, you get a SIM card in there, you get Apple Pencil, like you're ready to go.
Hi, Daniel. This is Vince. Thanks a lot. Appreciate your time. One of the big takeaways that I took from a sales perspective was the app directory and the connection with the third-party API app. So what was that called again? Deep what?
Deep linking.
Deep linking. Thank you.
So deep linking is what Apple, when you flip between apps and they pull data between the apps, a deep link, it passes data from one app to another.
Great. Thank you.
And we're the only EHR that does that today. Okay. All right, guys. Hopefully you learned at least 1 or 2 things. Thank you, guys.